Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.
The February 22nd Board of Commissioners meeting for the Merrimack Village District. Got a note to read here. Public participation is offered by webinar. You can join the webinar by going to a Zoom link that is included on the agenda for tonight's meeting. And you can get that agenda from the Merrimack Village District website, which is www.mvdwater.org. Or you can call 646-876-9923, enter the webinar ID 840-1871-9028. As a courtesy, Merrimack TV is also recording this meeting, and it will be posted on their website at a later date, and most likely played on channel 20, the local access channel as well in the future. So I'll call the meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. and we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you want to start that at the MVD office, since you have a flag, I'd appreciate it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. So we'll just go through a roll call of commissioners. I'm Don Preventure. I am zooming in from my home at 6 Wasserman Heights, and no one is in the room with me. Wolf, I believe you are online as well.
Yes, Wolf Funchun at my home, 4 Conservation Drive, and I'm alone in my room. Okay, and I know Wolf has said that he's feeling under the weather, so he's probably going to have his camera off for the meeting, so that's fine. Ken, and you're over with Ron at the MVD office, and Jill and Michelle. And Paul, where are you zooming in from?
Zooming in from my home on Peter Road, and I am the only one in the room.
Okay, and John?
I'm here, 25 Windsor Drive. I'm alone in this room.
Okay. All right, great. So the first on the agenda is the analysis of revenue and expenditures report. We can go through that with Michelle if you have any comments on that, or if any commissioners have any questions.
We are.
I'll ask him if he can.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Basically, at this point, we're 7 months into the year, a little over 58% of the year complete. Our revenues are at 58.8%. Prior year, very strangely enough, our revenues to date last year to this year were within $100. But last year was a higher percentage of the budget, so we were a little further along against revenues. For expenses, we're at 49.9% this year. Prior year, we were at 48.77%. And overall, we have a net income current year of $367,000 versus $543 last year. We're doing, as we discussed last month, monitoring the revenues and keeping an eye on expenses, especially those that have some flexibility in timing. So we'll weigh those purchases as we see the future revenues for this year come in and see how things play out with all the possible variables that can come into play with changes to COVID and just seeing how things will be in the spring and early summer months. None of the expense accounts had any items of note that we haven't previously touched on, but if anyone has any revenue accounts or expense accounts in particular that they'd like to look at, have a question or comment.
I'm fine. I don't know if there's any other questions out there.
And for me, none here.
I'm good.
Okay, very good. And then the prior year and month-by-month financials also attached in the bank balances. So does anyone have any questions on the bank balances? As I noted before, there are a couple of accounts, such as at Turkey Hill, that has some monies transferred from the operating, but as we wrap up the projects, we transfer back any funds that we put in basically for a cash flow reason, and we'll do a full reconciliation of that, as well as the 4 and 5 funding. So as those two are nearing administrative completion, we're reviewing that. So any other questions?
No, I'm good too. Anybody else?
Just a quick one, Michelle. Where do we stand as far as compared to other districts with regard to our capitalization?
As far as our capital reserves compared to others?
As far as our total cash on hand, is that a normal number to see?
I actually don't know comparatively. We're a hard entity to compare to others since we're the largest by far, 5 times larger than the next village district. And we're only a village district. We're not an entire municipality. So we're very different, but we have a very strong position as far as cash and our fund balance. It is something I want us to look at as we do the rate study, so that we're just keeping in mind what we want to maintain for fund balance, our goals for capital reserves. And the fund balance not only allows for our covering our day-to-day operations and the cash flow that we need, but if there were ever to be an operational situation that came up that could hinder our incoming revenues, we have that as a cushion to address if our budget appropriations aren't bringing in what we need.
Okay.
Okay, and that's all I had on the January financials.
Great. That was quick.
As requested.
Thanks, Michelle. Everybody good with Michelle? Any other questions or not? If we can probably move on. I think I saw Jamie pop in a few minutes ago. We're a little ahead of schedule. And I don't know if Jamie is still available, but if he is, he could probably check in at this moment. How you doing, Jamie?
Good. Hey, guys.
How are you?
Getting any snow down there?
It's snowing now.
Yeah, it's snowing here pretty hard too. Well, I think mine will be relatively quick. I have essentially three things I'd like to go over with you. Number one is the salt mitigation initiative. There was a video taken that I won't discuss specifically where it was from, but video was taken by one of the board members, and it was an exceptionally good example of what not to do. And I think that one of the things that we want to continue to move forward on is, as you all know, is some of the really, really aggressive salting that's been going on in some of the regions that are adversely impairing the water quality in the Natticook Brook aquifer. So to that end, Jill and Ron were able to establish through Doodle Poll a meeting that we're going to have with a couple of stakeholders on Thursday at 1 o'clock, and I'm going to be present, and Don will be present, and we will have a conversation about what we need to do. In part, it will be a presentation of the salt mitigation slideshow that I've presented before to a kind of a select party, and I'm very hopeful that we will, get a very good dialogue going forward with this group that I think could make a real difference. So with that said, I just wanted to let you know that that is moving forward. And this Thursday at 1 o'clock, we're going to have a one-on-one conversation that will last probably about an hour. I think, Don, right? I've scheduled an hour, but you want me to schedule a little more time?
I think that's fine. Is it's probably enough time to get through that presentation, I would think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'll give that about a half an hour and then, or 30 minutes or 35 minutes and go from there. With regards to the number 2 item on our agenda is the Natticook Brook Aquifer drilling at MVD 9. We have drilled to the bottom. We've got 103 feet total depth of that well. That's an 18 by 24 inch production well, as you know. We're a bit ahead of schedule on that. We've got the casing set down to 103 feet. And as we've built the well, the screen is in now. There's 18 feet of screen, or 17 feet of screen, stainless steel screen. We'll be jacking the casing out, so the screen will be exposed to the aquifer. That's coming out this week and next week, and then we go into development, at which time we're going to take some preliminary PFAS samples for Underwood so that it can be in, they can use that for part of their applications for some other things they're looking at. And then we're going to, wait till we hear back from the state. Now, I spoke with Andrew Koff, Don, this middle of the last week. The good news is that we have no public hearing request by the nearby communities. So that means we're going to save probably at least 60 days in the process because the way that the permits work is that they're allowed to have a public hearing, then they schedule the public hearing, then there's comments on the public hearing, there's review of the comments, a response to the comments, and then you get to review the report. But since we don't have a public hearing, we won't have the comments on that. So we'll go straight into DES comments, which should be forthcoming in the next 3 weeks. That's our hope. So all good news on that front. Andrew was encouraged. I know there'll be some comments, as there always are, but the point of this is that I think we've probably saved ourselves a good 60 days. And I talked to Peter Pitsis earlier this week about how we would put a timeline on the scheduling for construction. And assuming that we can get to the point of having a permit on this well by the end of the year, that would still allow the construction to happen in the spring and get that done. So I think they felt pretty good about that. I'll let Peter weigh in a little bit on that. But I think from our end, things are moving in accordance, maybe a little bit ahead of schedule, and everything seems to be favorable so far. So that's kind of an update on the well 9 scene. I'm also asking you to consider assigning a change order. If you recall, in the early days, we we were originally going to go forward with a preliminary pumping test and a preliminary hydrogeologic report, which we still had to do. But we took a risk and we jumped the gun and decided to go ahead and put the production well in first. And we skipped the entire preliminary testing program for that. So in reality, we're probably, in the long run, we're probably going to save ourselves $100,000 or more by doing that. So what I've done is put together a change order that identifies, to the best of my ability, the work scope and I gave you a very pretty detailed description of the work scope that will take us through the pumping test, the final hydrogeologic report, and meetings and so forth. And so that number came out to be about $158,700. And then I took away the amount that was in the original agreement. Look at the chip that we won't need, which is a total of 62,500 because that was the preliminary pumping test. That means we would need a change order of $96,200 to continue the program forward. So this is consistent with what we had put in there. I actually had identified, I think, $150,000 to $200,000 of additional funds that we would need. This is really about only $100,000, so it's a lot less than I expected. But at the same time, it is, it is an additional amount that needs your approval. And so I'll open up, if you have questions about it or not. This is reasonably straightforward. One thing that Ron and I have been on the phone today about and last week is how are we going to get the pipe, the temporary discharge pipe, and I can't put a real number on that, from well number 9 to a place that's not going to be influencing the pumping of well 2 and the pumping of well 9. It really means that the water's got to be discharged 2,000 feet away to get it out of the basin that we're testing. Because we don't want to, we're in a position where we don't want to be recycling water and thinking that we've got a great job done, and we find out that we're really just recycling. So, and we said we would do this in the preliminary report. So the latest thinking right now is that that the MVD would buy the pipe, run it to MVD2, and then we own some temporary pipe that we will, provide, that we'll take from another job site, bring it over. We could run that 1,000 feet, but it's only 6 inch. So we'd have to run it twice because we're going to pump anything more than 500 gallons a minute. We're going to need more than 6 inch. So we'll run it twice, split the production out of the 12-inch line, if they go that route, into two 6-inch lines out to the discharge point. So I think at this point, that's still under consideration. We don't know, but I put a $5,000 allocation into this agreement to go towards whatever solution we end up going. So, and that's kind of a catch-all because there's going to be stuff in there that we don't know about, which will be flow meters and sampling ports and things of that sort. But I knew we were in a rush to get this, and I wanted you to be able to have this. And that's the only item that that's a little bit more flexible. So, right. And the other option is to pump it into the system. And Ron's a little concerned that if we pump it into the system, we might overwhelm the system. And that's a concern that we have to work through too. The state would have to approve that on a temporary basis. And that's also something that I can, discuss with them and instead of running the two 6-inch lines. But that's a consideration. It doesn't have to be solved tonight, but I just wanted to plant the seed that Ron and I and Peter Pitzis is working on that to try to sort out the details. So.
Anyone have any questions for Jamie? No, I got a couple. Jamie, I just, for clarification, when you refer to a 24 by 18 inch well, I believe that 24-inch diameter is the borehole in the sand and gravel, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So the casing of the screen. Yep. The casing and the final casing, the final screen will be 18 inches.
Wow.
And then,
okay.
And then the the outside boring will be filled with gravel in the screened area, and then there'll be bentonite, and then there'll be a sanitary seal.
Great. And you mentioned that there was no request for a public hearing at this preliminary report stage. Is there another opportunity for a public hearing at the final report stage?
Yes, and that's a really good question. There is, and that would be once we submit the final hydrogeologic report, that'll have to go to all the communities that are abutting Merrimack, which we did with the preliminary report.
Okay.
And that report then can be reviewed by their consultants, and then they can raise questions and so forth. So yes, there is another opportunity that will come forward, and But it's been our experience that typically, if we don't see a public hearing, and this is important for you to hear, Peter too, Peter Pitzes, we don't have a public hearing in the first part. It's only happened one time in the last 25 years that we actually had a public hearing requested after not having one requested at preliminary. So I think the chances are pretty good that we're not going to have to have one, but you know, I remain hopeful.
Right. Also, I was wondering, so the change order you're requesting here that's for the work associated with the final report, and that task was not included in your original
Correct.
In your original proposal.
The original, yeah.
That's basically why, because we're not sure what the scope is until the DES approves the preliminary report. Is that accurate?
Correct. So in the contract we're under right now was really for the installation and development of the production well, to do a submittal of a preliminary hydrogeologic report, and that was it.
Okay.
We had put in there 62,500 for a preliminary pumping test, which we're not going to use. So I'm just, in this change order, what I did is I took the total amount for the final pumping test and for the final hydrogeologic report, and then subtracted the 62,500 to give us the total new dollars that needs to come in, which would be 96,200.
Okay.
And that's described, just for your benefit, it's described in the change order itself, which is a separate document than the actual work scope.
One question I had on page 2, the first bullet item there, it talks about answering the question of what is the potential impact of pumping on the adjacent wetlands and stream flow in Natticook Brook. And there's a footnote number 1 that indicates that's only a preliminary assessment. What
let me just see what footnote, what page again?
On page 2,
okay,
the very top first bullet item on page 2, when it talks about a potential impact of pumping on the adjacent wetlands and stream flow in Natticook Brook.
Oh yeah, that's a good pickup. That's an error. That footnote should be off.
All right. Because I was wondering what's the next opportunity to refine this if we're in the final pump test. So that was
good point.
Wasn't making sense. So that's good to know. All right.
Yep. Yep.
Great. And then it looks like you've outlined in here like a whole procedure on well 2 and when well 2 will be pumped. Looks like on page 4, I think you've got like a day-by-day schedule.
Yeah, so it's well MV. It's really for well 9, but the testing will begin a 3-day pumping well with well 9 with no pumping from existing production well 2. So we have to come up with, so that first bullet there, to allow the aquifer to recover from normal operation. If the system demand at the time of the testing allows it, MVD will remain off for the duration of pumping. And then we'll go through the various days, -10 to +20, of how the well will be pumped in accordance to this test. And this is the reason why I put this in here is this is the pumping test plan that I have to get approved by the state. And I think that this is the pumping test proof that they will agree to. But I had to give you, I gave you what I think is probably what's going to happen. I'm 90% sure, 95% sure that's how it's going to work. But that is correct. That is the detailed procedure of pump testing MVD 9.
So that must match what was proposed in the preliminary report to DES.
It's a little different. It's a little different based on my conversation with Andrew.
Okay.
So
he wants to start pumping well 2, 3 days before we start the pump test at well 9.
That's what that's our thoughts at this point, correct?
Right. And then we want to keep that pumping rate at 1,000 gallons a minute at well 2, I believe, for this whole duration. So that means we got to make sure that well 2 is not going to cycle off. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
So we may have to reduce pumping from some of our other wells, and if we don't, we might overflow some storage tanks. So I was just making sure that on the operations side of things that we're aware of that.
We have a little bit of flexibility. So if we, this is a work in progress. If we need to shut well 2 off for a day as part of this, we can do that. But I'm giving you the ideal situation that we would pump it for that period of time. And I think we'll have so much monitoring going on that we'll know exactly how that well responds to non-pumping and pumping and so forth. So feel pretty good. I think our biggest challenge is going to be the Natticut Brook piece. What are we going to do? What are the issues with the wetlands, et cetera? And I think that's my biggest, it's our biggest challenge, and it's going to be a challenge. And that's why I went out, if you recall, and took a lot of pictures when the brook was dry, up and down that whole watershed, so that we could demonstrate that there's extended periods of time when there's no water flowing through there.
Right.
There's a historical impact from well 2 being pumped for the last 25 years, or 20, whatever number of years, 4 years. That's just the reality. And we also have this peak that prevents, we've got this impervious section. So a lot of the stream flow is above the water table, the groundwater table. So those are going to be the challenge we're going to be faced with in demonstrating. Because I know that, it should be straightforward, but it's never straightforward when you're trying to demonstrate to everybody that this is the situation. So I feel reasonably comfortable about it, but it is our biggest risk and how the state's going to, evaluate that.
All right. Yeah. I just wanted to confirm about that well too, because if, it's good to hear you say if we needed to, we could shut that down. Obviously, I think if, the more we can keep it running, the more conservative, I guess, the pump test will be.
Correct.
But I just wanted to point out that there's some logistical considerations we need to do if that well is going to continue to pump. We don't want to overflow the system, or if we do, we want to be able to make sure we can deal with it. So,
right. And your word is right. It does. It's about being how conservative we are in our estimates. So you hit that. That's the right term in terms of us evaluating this. So good pick up on that. But I do feel like this is if I'm going to ask for the best way to do this, this is what I would do. Right. So, and Ron knows. I mean, Ron will be out there with us when we get to this point, working, with us on a day-to-day basis as we kind of manipulate the system to accommodate what we're trying to accomplish. The hard part is the timing of this because, ultimately it'll end up being in the spring, and in order for us to meet this schedule for the construction. So I think we want to, there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. We're gonna have to sort that out.
That was one of my concerns, Don. If we were to put into the system, well 9 into the system, that's the extra 1,000 gallons a minute into the system, and then being able to keep 2 on as well. So that was one of my concerns. This should be easy to manage, but
I was also going to ask about the logistics of, I think we'd have to disinfect that water as well. I think when we had well 9 before we put it in the system.
You'd almost have to use well 2 and over treat well 2 to handle that water as well. So you wouldn't be able to shut 2 off without affecting the pump test.
Right.
We might get away without having to, if we take a series of bacterias beforehand and it doesn't show there's any bacteria, we may be able to get away without it, because one of this tests that we actually did with Underwood a while ago, a number of years ago, we were pumping in the system. We just had to do a nitrate and a pH and a BAC-T test beforehand, and then we pumped it into the system because it was impossible to get it away from where we were going. So, but Ron's right. I mean, this is a monster, and I'm expecting that we'll have to be somewhat careful in what we, so.
Yeah, so it might be a little challenging trying to put a total of 2,000 gallons per minute into the system at well 2. So probably would be easier to, unfortunately, dump 1,000 gallons a minute from well 9. But at least we're in a time of year now where we could probably afford to do that, and we're not in the middle of a summer drought, which water is a lot more precious at that point. Yeah, so I guess I don't know, Ron, if you want to comment and what you feel comfortable with doing, if you prefer to just have well 9 discharge through some pipe on the ground as opposed to trying to get it back in the system, or if you what you think.
I think I would prefer discharging it onto the ground. I think it'd be easier to, again, my concern was that if we have an issue and we could potentially affect the pump test, then it's almost, we'd have, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, we'd have to almost start over again on the 9 pump test. So I'm more comfortable putting it onto the ground, knowing that we can, once we start, it stays going.
And Ron, would you, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Would you be able to provide some, I mean, if we're able to use that pipe, we'll have to go take a look at that. But I'm assuming we got enough people on the ground that we can put that pipe on the, lay it out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We've already actually chosen a route.
Okay.
I think we walked it with Dan at one point, and so the plan was to come right down the road with the discharge pipe, kind of go through the fence area, bring it right out and along the bank and on the well 2 side of that like little valley in there or along that wetlands, and just run it out past that beaver dam.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I think that's it, or on my end.
All right.
Did we get a motion for the change order or anything yet?
We have not.
Okay.
Not yet. Just before we do that, so just to kind of get the timeline in, you think the DES should provide their response on a preliminary report when, and maybe in the next 3 weeks or less?
3 weeks would probably be.
3 weeks?
Yeah, at 3 to 4 weeks probably. Yeah.
And then at that point, is the well development, you think should be completed at that point?
We're hopeful that it will be done with the well kind of simultaneous to the permit, to the comments. Yeah. And then we'll have to, yeah.
Okay. So then at that point, I guess at what point can we start trying to get that discharge pipe laid out? We probably have to make sure that the current drill rig or whatever is developing the well is not going to conflict with the layout of the pipe on the ground and stuff, right?
Yeah, and plus we got to install the pump. So
right.
So yeah, we gotta. Ron, do you have to cross the road to go in there with the pipe?
We shouldn't have to cross the road. And I was actually, as you're saying that, I was trying to think about how maybe we come up on, I don't know if you're familiar with the site or not, but we could probably hug that left side as you're going up the road.
Yeah.
And even up the hill and be on the kind of the back side of the well.
Yeah.
And then just hook into it from that point.
That would be great. So that would be probably the best. And so if that's the case, then, you guys could be putting in the pipe probably as soon as we get comments. If we don't get any really fatal flaw comments, then I would say we could start the week after that. So probably in the next, be prepared that maybe in 4 weeks, you might be able to start laying out that pipe. Is that even doable?
I think so. You just gotta check on availability. So
I
what
mean,
we're
kind of,
looking-
the timing doesn't work too bad because we'll be out of the storm period, the snowstorm period. So we won't have to be thinking about, all that complication and complexity.
I know Peter was gonna look at some stuff with DES, because we're back actually looking at purchasing the pipe again and then reusing it. Having the contractor install it, and so it would all be reimbursed through the funding that we have.
From CRF
Yep,
or SRF rather.
yes.
What kind of pipe are you looking at? Poly or not cast iron?
Yeah, HTP.
Yeah.
The poly.
Okay.
That's the only thing that real, well, I guess if it was anchored pipe, you could probably use ductile iron, but it's one continuous, the
Right.
poly would be fused together, would be one continuous piece, so.
And then they'll be able to install that in the trench after when we start running the line over from well 9 to the treatment plant?
I think, yes, they should be able to. That's one thing that Peter and I were talking about today, is how we'd have to write it into the contract in a certain way to allow them to take any concerns they have about warranties and that kind of stuff. And I guess they could cut it into manageable sections and actually just get it refused again in areas that need it. So, yeah.
No, that's good. And I think that's a good approach. At least then we're using the material that we're buying and not having to resell it for less value. And nobody likes to buy used stuff. So, if we can use it, I think that'll be a better approach. So, yeah, that's good. If we can keep the pump test, probably sounds like maybe we'd be looking at very end of March or maybe the beginning of April, which is a good time. I'm happier that it's happening earlier. So hopefully our aquifers have a better opportunity to recover before we get into the later spring, summer months, obviously. So that's good. So I don't have any other questions. I don't know if anybody else wants to offer a motion to accept this change order or not.
So moved.
Can move it.
All right. That was moved by Wolf. Was that a
Wolf.
second, John?
I will second it, yeah.
Okay. And this is to accept change order number 1 from Emery and Garrett groundwater, dated February 18, 2021. Project number 33.0083056.07 in the amount of, where is it on here?
In 96 too.
96,200. And that is to come from SRF funds, correct?
Yes.
All right, so there's the motion. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I'm
All right,
Yeah.
good. If not, then I'll call the question with a roll call. Wolf, how do you vote?
Don, I have a question on that. Is
Okay, hold on.
you were looking to pull that out of SRF funds, or was that coming out of?
Actually,
You had a capital reserve account for.
it is. It's the
stuff.
new well
Oh.
money. I apologize.
Good catch. Yeah, I was thinking this was part of our SRF funding, but you're right.
And the new well,
Is there a new well development capital reserve or?
No, it was the repurposed money that, from the blending,
Oh,
that's still kind of lingering around. So we're trying to use that up.
okay. All right, so that modification is acceptable as stated then? That's okay with the, with Wolf and John as the two that had made the motion and second the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thanks Pete for the correction. So we'll call the vote. Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor.
And John?
In favor as well.
Ken
Yes.
and Paul
I vote aye.
and myself as well. So that change order is approved 500. All right, great. I think that was it for you, Jamie. I just wanted to mention, and Ron might have brought it up later in his superintendent report, but as far as the salt mitigation committee, I think we are trying to get the participants lined up for that.
Yep.
And I don't know if you want to update us at all, if you're aware of anything, Jamie, or if Ron might be, but just since the two of you are together at this point, maybe if you want to just let us know where that stands at this moment.
Yeah, so Ron and Jill put together a list of people, and maybe, I don't have that in front of me, Ron, but maybe you can just give them a quick rundown. It's going to be involving the public works from the town, trying to get someone from the state, a number of people that have volunteered who are stakeholders in the the Natticook Brook, particularly the Natticook Brook area that are salting, but also I think there's one up in well number 5 area. But I don't have the names right. How many people right now? I think there were 10.
There may be. So I've heard from Kyle Fox, himself and Lori Barrett will be on the committee. Casey Wolf from planning, assistant planner, is going to be on the committee as well. I just lost their names. Fidelity.
Ken Dodd.
Thank
Joe
you.
Murray.
Thank you. Ken Dodd definitely said he'd be on it. Sean O'Keefe.
Joe
Good.
Murray.
Yeah, I think Joe was on that too.
Yeah. I'm going to miss somebody. And I did reach out to Don with a couple suggestions. I haven't done it yet. I plan on emailing that letter that was sent out to police and fire as well. And I want to resend, actually even thinking about doing maybe a certified to DOT to try to get some kind of response from them.
Do you know off the top of your head if we even included invites to the parking lot at the Jade and the Tractor Supply there? Whoever owns that facility, Merrimack Commons, I guess it is, right?
I don't know if that was an initial.
They were, the manager was included initially. I spoke with the gentleman that does the parking lot there, and he switched to straight sand.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
I can.
And then the condominiums down that way too. They have some large parking areas, I think, that were suspected of having salt issues.
I'll do a second round and I'll include that area as well. The Commons.
Okay.
Hey, Don, are you going to be on that committee too?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
There
I
should
would
be
start
someone,
off on it.
yeah, someone from the MVD should be on it. I mean, from the board, I think should be on it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if the board
Village was included.
if the board wants to have someone else attend that thing, that'd be fine too. I don't know if I'll make every meeting, but I could certainly, maybe we can kind of revolve members through here and there as well, if possible. So I think we can kind of figure that out as it gets started. But yeah, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that, we have obviously the properties with the largest parking lots and things are critical in this.
So the idea, Don, was to get an agenda together for the first meeting and then send out an invite, a doodle poll to everybody that has been selected or has offered to be on the committee.
Right.
With some sort of an agenda attached to it, so that they know what we're looking at the first meeting. So,
okay,
discuss. So that was kind of the plan, and I can work with you as well. But Jamie and I were going to work on that to get some sort of an agenda together.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to keep in mind some of the other properties along Continental too, because there's some industrial. Commercial facilities there that have parking lots that are very close to our well 2 in the Natticook Brook. So that's important. And also even the ones that are using sand, might be good to get them on the committee if they're willing, just so other users can see that there are properties there that have committed to using sand, and how it's working out for them. So, you know, I think just because someone's not using salt and they're using sand doesn't mean we don't want them on a committee. I think they could be key stakeholders that are leading the way for the other members that may be reluctant to get rid of salt and haven't tried using alternatives to salt. So,
Right.
you know, I think that's a good idea to keep them in mind. So, all right, that's all I have. I just wanted to bring that up because I know Jamie was online with Ron, and I know you guys have been working on this. So I appreciate the update. Any other questions from anyone else before we move on? All right, great.
I'm gonna jump off if it's all right with you guys.
Yeah,
I have another
absolutely.
call at 7, so okay, good.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Jamie.
Good luck tonight. Good luck tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye now.
Hi, Jamie.
Bye.
All right, so we're good. We're still about 5 minutes ahead of time. So the next thing on the agenda is Underwood to give us an update on the bidding process for PFAS treatment plant at Well 2.
So I'll just first sort of follow up on a little bit what Jamie said, and we are including something in our specifications for the project that you can award the Well 9 portion all the way up to December 31st of 2021. And we feel that that gives the contractor enough time, if we notify him by then, to order his VFD, order his pump, order the pitless adapter, get all that stuff you know, delivered before spring. Then he can line up his directional driller and directional drill that, you know, and, you know, hopefully the 1st of April or so. So that's what we had. And then, you know, the plant wouldn't go online until June-ish. So we feel like there's 3 months of construction in the spring that they can do that work. So
good.
Yeah.
Let's hope it all sticks to that schedule and all works out.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then, so short and sweet, we're out the bid right now. We're advertised. The advertisement will go into the paper on Wednesday. We have state approval. So we are making a couple little final touches to our plans and specs, and that will be ready for contractors to pick up on Wednesday.
Great.
So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. So that all went well. So,
and Peter, that contract includes the language we discussed?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you guys were able to make modifications to the treatment plant building and add the controls, electrical controls and the VFDs and everything up in that building, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Good.
Yep. So we talked. Yep. So that's all set. So we should be ready to go. Yeah. So we have a bid opening. It's right now it's scheduled for March 26th, which is a Friday at 2:00. You know, barring any reason to extend that a little bit, that's when the bid opening will be.
All right.
And we'll be doing probably a virtual pre-bid meeting. And you know, we haven't scheduled that date. I want to talk to Ron tomorrow. We got to pick a date on that. And then usually schedule that sometime around, you know, a couple weeks before the bid opening, just to give contractors a chance to look at plans and specs, develop questions, and then give us a shot to address any questions that they have with an addendum and stuff. So,
have you made our existing 2 contractors that are presently working with us, Penta and ICC, are they aware of this new bid going out?
Yeah, they are. ICC will probably not bid it because he's more of a, you know, do a project and complete it, because he's a very small contractor.
Okay.
So he's going to be in the midst of, you know, trying to get Well 7-8 online. And I think it might be too much for him to try to tackle this one at the same time.
Okay.
My guess is that he's not going to look at it at all. And yeah, I've mentioned it to Penta. So we told him it was coming out, you know, around this time frame. We haven't told him it was exactly coming out, but we will contact them.
Right. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone for Peter or Keith or anybody? If not, I don't know if you guys have anything else. I just looking at the agenda, I don't know if there was anything else that was on here for Underwood, but is there anything else you guys want to present?
That was all we had, but we may just want to, we'll get probably an update on a few other things at the next meeting. So I know you guys got in a full agenda tonight anyway, so I think we're good for a while. We can regroup some more next time.
We're 10 minutes ahead, so that's why I was just wondering if there was anything quick that you guys had, but if not, it's not bad to be ahead of time.
One thing I would like to see, Keith, maybe is like a timeline for all the open orders. You know, we have quite a bit of things out there. You know, the rate study, the corrosion prevention or corrosion management, the possible distributed chlorination to reduce the chlorination levels close to the wells, because that's a really strong complaint now that we're seeing very frequently. People are really complaining about that, and it's going to be difficult for us to justify that long term, spending all that money on getting the cleanest water in the state, or maybe even in the country, but having chlorination levels that make people not drink it. You know, that really will be a concern. I'm getting even, you know, private messages now outside of public forums quite frequently about the chlorination concerns.
Now, Wolf, do you have a location for where some of those complaints are? Are they more up towards the well 4 and 5, where they sort of have been on a extremity of the system, so to speak, while well 4 and 5 have been off, so they're sort of used to or got used to having lower chlorine residuals, and now that they're the 4 or 5 plant is up online, they're getting a little bit more. Is that possible or not?
I think there's certainly a concentration of people in the 4 or 5 area, but it isn't limited to that. I've had complaints the other day from people that are more closer towards 7 and 8, and even some again at 2 and 3 down along Continental Boulevard. So I think it's, from what I haven't looked at all the addresses, and not everybody has given me the address, but and some people have only given me names, and I forwarded most of those to staff. But from what I've seen, it looked like it's usually people that are close to the wells, which makes sense, right? That's what we gather. We have a higher concentration at the wells, so we have enough residual concentration of chlorine at the furthest point in the system. And that's why I keep saying that we might need to look into decentralizing the chlorination if we don't want to go to chloramine that supposedly has a slower decay rate, right, and reduces the amount of chlorination that we might have to have at the wells. That we need to think about maybe, you know, chlorinating at the tanks, for example.
All right. Well, if you're up for it, I mean, we can plan on, you know, spending whatever time you'd like to do all that, Wolf, and update on all the open POs. And my only question would be, do you want to do it in a regular session or a work session? Just need advice on how you want to do that, but we'll be prepared to do it either way.
I guess my point is more, I would like the board to be aware and staff to be aware what timeline we can expect. Some of these things we've been talking about since October, and some of these orders, engineering orders have been out there since October. And I'm not complaining that they're slow. I'm just saying I don't have a visibility of when we can expect any you know, work to be done on these. So I figured if we put a timeline out there, we can decide if we agree to it, even if it is maybe another 6 or 8 months or whatnot. But I don't want to look at it in July and realize we still have no clue when it's going to come.
Okay, so what you're looking for is just more of a status, maybe a report, Excel schedule sheet, just identifies where we're at and where we're going to be with the timeline. So you have it for your. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I don't even think I need an Excel spreadsheet. Simple email that tells me we're going to be working in April on this and in May.
Okay.
And going to have a report in June or something like that. You know, that's perfectly fine. I don't need anything elaborate. I just feel that we should have a visibility of when we can expect you guys to work on this stuff and present any of it, even if it's just preliminary, that we can take action if we feel it's going the wrong way.
Yeah, and then based on whatever timeline you feel, and as we progress through, it may make sense for us to shift some stuff around. Like we want to cover the rates probably in the spring. I think we last said we want to kind of probably tackle that in like the April timeframe and maybe implement it for July 1st. So if that's going on at the same time as you're doing the overall system evaluation of the alternatives assessment of, the different sources that we're looking at and costing each of those out, maybe that we can sort of give preference to one or the other on that, depending on the timing of the season right now and stuff. So that's probably a good idea to kind of pull those all together so we can run, so we can both get on the same plan of what makes sense that we want done first, I think. So yeah, that's a good point, Wolf.
Yep, I understand. So we'll work on that and get you something to look at. Good.
All right. If that does it for you guys, I don't know if anybody has any other questions or anything else to present. If not, we can move on.
From me?
Nothing here.
All right. All right.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Enjoy your night.
See you later.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Good. So we can move along. The next item is the discussion of an assignment of warrant articles and review of the budget memo for the March 30th, 2021 annual meeting. So it looks like we have in our packets copy of the warrant articles here. So what do we want to do? Just kind of go through these one by one. I guess the Jill and I were talking about this earlier today. We're going to be reading these at tonight's public hearing. And I guess there's a couple ways we can do that. Is if each commissioner wants to be responsible for one or two warrant articles, or if you prefer, as the chair, I could read all of them. And I'm not sure about answering questions from the public. I would assume whoever feels the most qualified to answer the question, we can kind of parse it out from there. Obviously, I believe Michelle's going to be there to answer questions on the budget and things. So, so that would be helpful. But I don't know, what's the board's pleasure as far as the ones that are going to be at the hearing this evening at the little theater? Do we want to have individual commissioners read these articles or not? I don't really care either way. I just want to get your opinion. Jill, do you have anything to add to that?
Just that I think if you guys, one way or another, a commissioner needs to be assigned to the warrant article to answer questions. So you would either have the commissioner read the warrant article and then obviously answer the questions, or if you don't, some people don't want to be on camera reading, maybe John would read the warrant article, and then whatever commissioner took it will just be available to respond to questions.
Okay.
Or you could read the warrant article and they can read the explanation that's below and answer questions. So it's whatever you guys want to do.
Okay.
We'll need a first and a second for the annual meeting.
Don, if you want to read them, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, for the annual meeting.
I think that's what happened last year. I don't think it was intended to, but that's the way it shook out. So,
that was not intended. The year prior, we had individual commissioners read it, and I probably shouldn't be saying that because I'm not going to be there. But I think it shows just more involvement of the board if everybody reads one portion of the
Don, I have
agenda, one warrant article.
I have no problem reading them. You don't have to be the only one up there, reading from the script. So
we're all going to be sitting up there, but
okay. Then we should make notes to ourselves as far as what articles that we are each assigned to as we go through this. So I get this. Go ahead.
Who's going to be there? I'm going to be there, but
I'll be there.
I'll be there as well. I think Wolf is not planning on attending, and John, I'm not sure if you're planning on attending. Either way, it's fine. We'll have a quorum with the three of us if you don't feel comfortable going tonight. So it's up to you.
I was planning to come after all because I wanted to make sure we're, the majority of the board is there. But again, I need to quarantine right now. I have a flu.
Right. Okay.
Well, how about we just, when we get there, wherever the seats are, I mean, if you start with Article 1, for instance, and, I'll go to 2 or 3, and, just rotate,
Well, I think it's better if we actually write down who is doing what at this point, because I think that's how we got messed up last year. So Article 1, that's to choose the 2 commissioners for a 3-year term. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I don't think anyone's going to have questions on that. But if someone wants to read that one, and also the paragraph underneath that says the purpose of this article is to allow you to vote for your choice of candidate, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody want to offer to read that one out?
I will.
All right. So Article 1 will go to Ken. Article 2 is, what is that? That's the one about the, to vote to change the office of the treasurer from an elected position to an appointed position. I'll read that one if no one else objects. I'm okay with that one. And I'll present the pros and cons that it's, basically it's a benefit to the staff to have somebody assigned that's familiar with the duties of the treasurer. And the other perspective on that, which I know Wolf and I had discussed before, is that the treasurer position being an elected position sort of assures that it's a neutral position for checks and balances perspective. So if no one else has anything else, does that sound appropriate to you, Wolf? I know, I think you had left me some text that you wanted me to include, and I think I kind of covered that in there. All right. Did we lose Wolf?
I think we just lost Wolf. Lost him, yeah.
All right. He'll come back. All right, article number 3 is to choose the treasurer, because at this point, the treasurer position is still an elected position. So we need to make sure that we keep Article 3 on there to elect the treasurer. In the event that Article 2 fails, then the treasurer position would still be an elected position. Mm-hmm. I believe there's no one actually running that has offered to run for that position, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Right. Anybody want to read Article 3?
I can take Article 3 on.
Okay. Wolf, you back? We lost you there for a few minutes.
Yeah, I lost my audio for some reason.
Oh, all right.
And I had to restart the app, so I'm back.
Okay. So, all right. So Paul agreed to do Article 3. Article 4. That is the article to approve the current or the next year's fiscal budget. You want to circle back through that with the same people? Ken, are you up for that one, or you want me to take it? Or Paul, I don't care.
I'll do it.
Okay, so Ken will do Article 4. Article 5 is the contingency fund for, that's the thing that recurs every year for unanticipated expenses. So I don't care. I'll take that unless you want to do it, Paul. Doesn't matter to me.
Either way, I can take this one or the next one.
All right, why don't you take this one?
Okay.
So you'll take article number 5.
Got it.
I'll take article number 6, which just talks about the non-capital reserve fund for the purposes of emergency water purchase or maintenance of GAC treatment facilities. And then what's the next one? 7. I'm sorry. So 6, that was mine, right? Yep. So the next one is 7, which is to appropriate $248,000 and some change for, let's see here.
SDC.
Yeah, System Development Capital Reserve. And so this is basically just to fund that capital reserve account from surpluses. Is that right?
This is money that's paid in from
Okay.
New people coming into the system. We charge this fee, and that actually goes into a capital reserve account. If there's anything that's paid in, typically at the end of the year or following year, I should say.
So this article is really just to allocate the money that was supposed to go to that fund anyway. It's just confirming that essentially.
That is correct. Yes.
Sounds like a housekeeping.
Yeah, sounds like it. Anybody want?
I'll do 7.
That's Ken?
Yep.
All right. And 8, I think 8 is the last one, correct? And that's $100,000 for the equipment and facilities capital reserve.
I can take 8 on.
Okay. And again, is that sort of just another housekeeping thing? That was money that we took in that's going into that account?
No, this one is typically we used to budget to put into capital reserves. We don't do that anymore. So typically we just rely on if there's unexpended or unanticipated funds, we would then allocate them for the different capital reserve accounts. And we've been pulling money from the equipment and facilities for the different projects so that we're just looking to put some back in.
Okay. All right. So the way I have here, just so everybody can check, I got Ken on articles 1, 4, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Paul on articles 3, 5, and 8. And I'm on article 2 and 6. Those are the only 2 there?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If everybody's okay with that, any other questions or anything? Or if not, we could probably move on. All right. Looks good. So I think next up is number 4 on the agenda, which is just a review of the minutes from several prior meetings. And we should probably do these one at a time because I know there were some that may not have been present, may want to abstain and whatnot from accepting minutes. So, so we'll just start, just for the record, I think I'm fine on all of the minutes. I've reviewed them. I don't have any modifications, but December 15th, 2020, does anybody, that was the minutes from the work session, December 15th, 2020. And if anybody wants to make a motion to accept those and maybe offer corrections, if any.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as is.
Okay.
Seconded.
Motion by Paul, second by Ken to accept the minutes from December 15th. Any corrections or suggested edits on those?
None that I came across.
Okay. Then we'll do, guess we got to do a roll call on this, like every one of them individually. So I guess we'll do a roll call on accepting the minutes from December 15th work session. Paul, you made the motion. How do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Ken, how do you vote?
Aye.
John, how do you vote?
I'll have to abstain. Looks like I wasn't there.
Okay. Wolf
Aye.
and myself in favor. So that passes 4-0-1 with John abstaining. The next is the minutes from the December 21st regular Board of Commissioners meeting. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
That was moved by Wolf, second by Ken. Anybody have any corrections or comments to offer on those? If not, then we can move ahead with a roll call. Wolf, how do you vote on those December 21st minutes?
In favor.
Ken?
Aye.
Paul?
Abstain.
Paul abstains. John? You said aye?
Hey, I did. Hey, Capitan.
Okay. And myself as well. So those December 21st minutes pass 4-0-1 with Paul abstaining.
Correct.
The next Board of Commissioners minutes from January 11th special meeting. A motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Wolf.
Seconded.
Second by Ken. Any corrections, comments to offer on those? If not, then we'll go through a roll call on those. So voting in favor to accept the January 11th special meeting minutes as printed. Wolf?
In favor.
Ken?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And John?
In favor also.
And myself as well. So that carries 5-0-0. And we got two left. We got the January 25th regular Board of Commissioners meeting. And
I have an edit on those.
All right, you want to make a motion first to approve those, and then we can talk about the edits? That's usually how
Don't
it's
we have
done.
to? Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
usually you
first.
vote to approve them, and then you get a second, and then you do the corrections. At least that's how the other boards do it.
We're doing the corrections and then a vote to approve amended.
Afterwards. Yep.
I don't know if he can hear me, but I think he wants to approve them first.
Yeah. He wants to.
Well, a motion to accept, and then there's discussion, and then they can amend it, and then they have a vote to approve as amended.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that that's how we have done it in the past. I'm fine either way as long as the edits are coming in. So no problem with that. So I'll move to accept those minutes.
Motion by Wolf to accept. I'll second, just for the heck of it. And Wolf, you want to offer some corrections to those?
Yeah, so we're talking about the 125 minutes, right?
Yeah, for the regular meeting, not this public hearing.
Right. So on page 3, excuse me, line 7, Vice Chairman von Schön asked about Pennachuck implementing tighter restrictions on water usage during peak usage months for wholesale customers, and if the water would be available to MVD when needed. There was a comment here that I made that I think is important to be recorded, and that was that I asked, or I stated, I recalled that Milford and I think some other areas that are served by Pennachuck water actually received some tighter restrictions and earlier restrictions than Nashua customers did, Nashua Pennachuck customers did. And I think that Ron actually confirmed that during the meeting. And I thought that was kind of important for us because they are wholesale customers. And there's a precedence that during the drought here in 2020, that these more remote customers, even though they have a contractual delivery guarantee from Pennachuck, have experienced a less prioritized water supply than Nashua and Pennachuck customers. And that is a worry that I have if we were to bank our additional water our complementary supply, if we were to bank on Pennachuck or any third party.
I'm sorry, Wolf, can you point out what page you were on and what line? Again?
Yes, page 3, and it starts at line 7.
Line 7.
Vice Chairman von Schoen asked about Pennachuck implementing tighter restrictions on water usage during peak usage months for wholesale customers. And there was a discussion here that I'm pretty sure that happened as part of this part of the meeting. I don't know if Ron maybe remembers that.
It did. I definitely remember that, Wolf.
Yeah, and I thought that was, that's something that we should just have in mind in, when we look back and ask ourselves, was banking on a third-party water supply a priority or, a good idea versus creating our own water supply, auxiliary water supply, supplemental water supply. I just think that that's something that we should remember.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any suggested sentence to add in here, or do you want to go back to review the video and have someone try to paraphrase what you want?
Okay. Amanda said she'd go back and take a look at it.
That probably would be the cleanest way to do it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind, because it was a side comment and it got kind of covered by some other discussions. So I'm not surprised that it got missed, but at least Ron and I had a conversation about that, and I think it should go on record, and it probably should be going as it happened.
Okay, understood. I agree. All right, so I think because we don't have the specific text in here, we're probably going to have to table these for the next meeting.
I agree.
I have another amendment.
Okay.
Page 1, line 32, says January, it should say December.
32.
Page 1.
Yep. Because we're not at the end of January yet.
All right.
All right, so we'll agree to table the January 25th regular session minutes. Everybody okay with that?
I am.
All right, so that just leaves the January 25th public hearing minutes. And that's a quick old 1 page right there, I think, right?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All right, motion by Wolf, second by Ken. So we'll do a roll call vote to approve the January 25th public minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or anything there? If not, then we'll go through each commissioner in favor of approving the minutes as written. Wolf, how do you vote?
In favor.
And Ken?
In favor.
Paul?
Same.
And John, were you, I don't think you were there for that one, maybe?
I think I was.
Yeah,
He was
here.
I'm sorry, I didn't, yeah, looking at the wrong thing.
I'm in favor.
All right, and myself as well, so that is 5-0-0.
Okay.
You good?
Didn't Paul wasn't present at the public hearing?
Correct.
Okay. So that's, you're abstaining?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Sorry.
No.
All right, so that vote is 4-0-1 with Paul abstaining on that one, on the public hearing minutes, January 25th. You got that, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so where are we now? I guess we're from questions from the public. I don't know if we have a little bit of time. Do we want to try to get into, I guess we can, what do you guys feel? You want to?
I could use the extra time to get to the, where it's been snowing.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing on the, what I'm getting to here is we'll put the MVD action items on the shelf for the next meeting, I think. All right.
So I just want to say, I feel bad about not wanting to go to this. I've been really conflicted about it and concerned. So, I mean, I appreciate that you guys say you can handle it. But I don't want there to be a problem either. And I think we need to address this for future meetings.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, John. I know I wasn't really aware if we had an option for Zoom to participate. And I was not aware that there were limitations in the building and even on possibly Merrimack TV's end of things to make that work. And just for the record, I just wanted to let anybody reviewing or hearing this right now to know, to allow Zoom access, we would have had to put that in place weeks ago. And now that it came to our attention last week, apparently it was too late to make that happen. We would have had to postpone this public hearing. And I believe, from what I understand, that there's a good likelihood that we would have had to also delay and postpone our annual meeting, because there's a certain block of time that the budget hearing tonight has to be heard a certain amount of time before the annual meeting. So Ron and I talked about this last week, and I think the amount of disruption it would have cost, in my opinion anyway, was probably more. Had we been aware of this earlier, we probably could have taken steps to do something about it. And I'm sorry for not being aware of that myself. So, but I fully understand.
I should not have assumed. I was thinking we're doing all these meetings by Zoom. I assume this one would be too, but
right.
Like I said, I just want to say, thank you to you guys for offering to take care of it. I am more comfortable not attending it if you can. And I just think it's something that we could probably work out if we spend some time on it before the annual meeting.
Okay, that's a good point. And maybe we can.
Thank you, John. I would have been, happy to jump in. I fully understand where you're coming from, but unfortunately, now with me, literally diagnosed, with granted it's not COVID, but I cannot, go out in public and risk other people's health.
Right. I understand both of your perspectives, guys. So don't worry about that. All right. So questions from the public. Looking here, I'm not sure that I see any members of the public. It looks like everyone is affiliated with MVD that I can see that's present here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it looks like there's no press, no public. So at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to recess this. And Ron, I know there's no superintendent report on here, but I don't think at this point we're probably right on schedule to just recess this meeting and get over to the little theater for the public hearing tonight. Unless you have anything of major importance you wanted to let us know.
No, knowing that it was going to be I thought it was going to be a lot tighter. I wasn't preparing anything for it anyway, so it was just
okay. All right, good. Then I don't know, I guess maybe to be official, do we need to take a vote and a roll call to recess the meeting so that it can be reconvened at the little theater at 7:00, which is going to be the public hearing on the budget and warrant articles? Do we need a motion for that at all, or? I don't know. I don't think it would hurt, but
I don't.
We do a recess, and wouldn't it be just the people going, because we're going to have to vote to open it again, correct?
Yeah, we would. So anyways, I'll make a motion to recess the meeting so that it can be reconvened at 7:00 tonight at the Little Theater in the high school.
Seconded.
Okay, so motion by myself, second by Ken. So we'll do a roll call. I'll vote in favor of that. Ken?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
All right. And I guess we're probably just gonna limit it to the 3 commissioners so
Well,
that we can.
you can do everybody, Don, because we'll have a quorum to open it back up, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true. Wolf, do you vote in favor to recess the meeting at this time?
Yep.
And John?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, so that's 500 to recess, and we'll see you guys in a half hour at the high school.
Yep.
Again, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
Welcome, everybody, to the Merrimack Village District public hearing for the warrant articles in the budget. First, I just have some housekeeping items to relay. Due to COVID pandemic, masks will be required throughout the public hearing. If you do not have a mask with you, please let us know, and we'll be happy to provide one. Hand sanitizer is outside the door to the little theater. The seats are marked with M stickers to designate which seats are available to respect the 6 feet separation. Should anyone have a question, please raise your hand and state the question clearly when called upon. I will repeat the question for the recording, and a commissioner will respond to the question. At this time, I'd like to introduce the commissioners and the staff that's here. To my right, Paul McLaughlin, Commissioner. To my left, Ken Ayers, Commissioner. To his left, Ron Miner, Superintendent. And to his left, Michelle Holton, Finance Director. We also have Business Manager Jill Lavoie in the audience. I do want to state that John Lyons and Wolf Von Schaun, commissioners, have been excused from this evening's meeting as well. So at this time, I would like to declare the public hearing relative to the Merrimack Village District proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 and the warrant articles for fiscal year 2021 and 2022 open for comments. The notice of this public hearing was advertised in the Nashua Telegraph and appeared in the February 10 to 12th, 2021 editions. The public hearing notice was also posted at the Merrimack Village District website at www.mvdwater.org, at the MVD office, and at the Merrimack Town Hall and the post office. So the purpose of this hearing is to allow comments from the public in relation to the proposed 2021-2022 operating budget and warrant articles. The Board of Commissioners will not comment during this time. When all public comments have been received, I will close the public hearing, and the board will go into session to consider action on the proposed 2021-2022 fiscal year budget and warrant articles. Does anybody have any questions about these procedures? Okay, seeing none. So at this point, I believe we are going to proceed with a reading of the individual warrant articles. So these are the warrant articles that will appear at the annual meeting on the, to be voted on at the annual meeting. And the first article is going to be presented by Commissioner Ken Ayers.
Article 1, to choose 2 commissioners for the 3-year term of office. The purpose of this article is to allow you to vote for your choice of candidate for office. If you like to vote for someone whose name is not on the ballot, simply write in the candidate's name of your choice in the space provided on the ballot.
Anybody have any questions on warrant article number 1? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to article number 2. Article number 2 is to see if Merrimack Village District will vote to change the office of district treasurer from an elected position to an appointed position in accordance with RSA 41:26-E. Such appointment shall be made in accordance with RSA 669:12-D by the Board of Commissioners. The appointment shall be made in writing and shall include the compensation to be paid. Should this article pass, Article 3 will be null and void, and a majority vote is required on this one. The purpose of this article is to allow the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners to interview and appoint a qualified candidate for the position of treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for the custody, deposit, and disbursement of municipal funds, excluding trust funds. The treasurer submits books, vouchers, and statements to the Board of Commissioners and to the auditors when requested. Does anybody have any questions or comments on Article number 2? Seeing none, we can move on to Article number 3, and Commissioner Paul McLaughlin will present that one.
Article number 3, to choose one treasurer for a 3-year term of office. The purpose of this article is to allow you to vote for your choice of a candidate for office should Article 2 not pass. If you would like to vote for someone whose name is not on the ballot, simply write in the candidate's name of your choice in the space provided on the ballot.
And this is a written ballot vote required. Article number, let me ask if anyone has any questions on that. Seeing none, then we can move on to Article number 4 to be presented by Ken Ayers.
Article 4, to see if the Merrimack Village District will vote to raise the sum of $4,472,263 for the general municipality operations for the 2021-2022 fiscal year, with the said sum to come from the water-related charges. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. This is the operating budget warrant article. This article funds the operation of the district for the year beginning July 1st, 2021, ending June 30th, 2022 for all departments: administration, distribution, treatment, debt services, and insurance benefits.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions on Article number 4? Seeing none, we'll move to Article number 5, which will be read by Paul McLaughlin.
Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to establish a contingency fund pursuant to RSA 52:4-A by raising and appropriating the amount of $20,000 to meet the cost of unanticipated expenses that may arise during the fiscal year 2021 to 2022, with said funds to come from water fees. This is a majority vote required. RSA 52:4-A states, every village district annually by an article in the warrant may establish a contingency fund to meet the cost of unanticipated expenses that may arise during the year. Such fund shall not exceed 1% of the amount appropriated exclusive of capital expenditures and amortization of debt by such village district during the preceding year. A detailed report of all expenditures from the contingency fund shall be made annually by the commissioners and published with the report.
Great, thanks, Paul. Anybody have any questions on Article number 5? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article number 6. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to establish a non-capital reserve fund under provisions of RSA 35:1-C for the purpose of emergency water and/or the operations and maintenance of a granular activated carbon treatment facilities, and raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be placed in this fund. This sum is to come from unassigned fund balance. Further, to appoint the Board of Commissioners as agents to expend from this non-capital reserve fund. And a majority vote is required for this article. And the purpose of this article is to use a portion of the unassigned fund balance to be set aside for future use in the district's non-capital reserve fund. Should the need for emergency water and/or unanticipated operations and maintenance of the granular activated carbon treatment facilities arise in future years, the Board of Commissioners would have these funds available for such purpose. Are there any questions from the public on Article number 6? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article number 7 to be presented by Commissioner Ken Ayers.
Article 7. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise the appropriate sum of $248,162 under the provisions of RSA 35-1, 1 and 2 to add it to the district system development capital reserve for the future system expansion improvements of existing system. This sum to come from the fiscal year 2020 unassigned fund balance. These are the system development charges collected during the 2019 and 2020 budget year. Majority vote required. The MVD Board of Commissioners adopted a system development charge, SDC, on August 19, 2008. This charge is applied to new customers and those existing customers who increase their water service demand beyond 20% of the current or prior use. The charge can best be described as a buy-in fee to achieve an equal equity position with the existing customers. This one-time payment will cover their share of the value of the existing infrastructure. Fire service interests are not subject to the SDC. The System Development Charge Use of Funds Policy 08-02-B was approved by the Board of Commissioners on October 27, 2008.
Thanks, Ken. Does anyone have any questions on Article number 7? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article number 8, the final article to be presented by Commissioner Paul McLaughlin.
Article 8, shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 under provisions of RSA 35:1, 1 and 2 to add to the district's Equipment and Facilities Capital Reserve Fund for associated costs with existing storage, transmission, and production of water. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance, and this is a majority vote required. The purpose of this article is to use a portion of the revenue surplus to be set aside for future use in the district's Equipment and Facilities Capital Reserve Fund. Should an emergency arise in future years for which there was no appropriation, or should there be the need for an unforeseen special piece of machinery and a pump station, for example, the Board of Commissioners would have these funds available for such purposes. This fund was established by the March 26, 1996 annual meeting.
Great, thanks, Paul. So one last article. Does anybody have any questions on Article 8? Seeing none, that will conclude the reading of the warrant articles. At this point, the next item on the agenda is questions from the public or questions from the press. Seeing neither, we can move on. I now declare this public hearing closed. The Board of Commissioners will reopen the session of the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners meeting upon conclusion of all public hearings for this event. So I guess we can entertain a vote to reopen the Board of Commissioners meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Ken.
Second.
Second by Paul. All those in favor of reopening the Commissioners meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 3-0-0. So I think at this point, we are going to go through the warrant articles again, and the commissioners are going to indicate their vote on each warrant article. the intent was to receive and incorporate any public comments on any of these warrant articles that were just requested, and there was no public comments received. So I think we can probably go through and probably just read each one of these. I mean, we've already read them, so we could probably just go right to a vote. Do we have to read them over again, or can we just vote on them?
No, you can vote through it in their entirety too. You don't have to individually if you do public comment.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, obviously, Article number 1 is just to vote to choose commissioners. That does not have a vote required for it. But the remaining articles, actually, Article number 3 also does not have a vote because that's to choose a treasurer. However, the remaining articles are to be voted upon. I just wanted to make one comment because Commissioner Wolf Von Schaun asked me to mention in his absence that for Article number 2, which is to appoint and the vote to change the office of treasurer from an elected position to an appointed position, as indicated in here, it was read that this will allow the Board of Commissioners to interview and appoint a qualified candidate for treasurer. Up until currently, this position has been an elected position, and Wolf wanted me to indicate that he was in favor of maintaining it as an elected position so that there's an opportunity for more checks and balances on the behalf of the public to make that position elected. So I just wanted to make that statement. But as far as the remaining articles go, we can do these all at once. So if someone wants to make a motion to approve the remaining articles, which would be Article 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, as written. Anybody want to make that motion?
I make the motion to move forward with a vote on all articles requiring a vote of the board, which include 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
Seconded.
Okay, motion by Paul to approve all warrant articles, seconded by Ken. Anybody have any discussion, questions on anything? All right, then we'll take a vote on this. All in favor of approving Articles 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That carries 3-0-0. So that takes care of the warrant articles. And I think we just need a motion to approve no, I guess this is so the budget warrant article was included in there, so I think we're all set on that. All right, great. So I guess that's the end of it, the end of the meeting. I don't think there's any other items on the agenda or that I know of. And again, no questions from the press or public, so at this time, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Ken, second by Paul. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries 3-0-0. That's the end of the public hearing. Thank you.